Hello everyone and welcome back to the cinema for The Flash today, episode 21, full spoilers, particle accelerator explosion, kaboom! We open the episode with Iris narrating instead of Barry, and it's kind of refreshing. I like it every time it brings it back, because the episode all of a sudden, you get used to the formula very quickly, and when it injects something that just starts different, you think, oh, this is a different episode, we're going to get something new. And after we get Iris narrating, we also see that Barry cannot find Eddie anywhere in the city. Iris plays dumb in this episode about knowing the Flash's identity, but ultimately confronts him later. But before we get to that confronting part, we see Rocket Launcher Man, and I'm looking at it going, no, don't you take me from the main plot, not now. But we see him a couple times, but before the reveal of who that is, we go back to Iris, and Iris, yes, goes straight into Star Labs, sees Barry sitting there in the Flash suit, and is like, you lied to me. Barry's got this expression of, oh, shit. And you can see it in Barry's eyes, he wants to dig his own grave. This isn't good. Caitlin and Cisco think, well, you know, this is kind of Flash related, maybe we should listen into their conversation in the next room, and it's pretty damn good. Both have very valid arguments for why they've said what they have. Multiple times in this episode, we also cut to Thorne and Eddie talking, where he took Eddie to in the last episode, and Eddie pisses off Eobard at one point, and Eobard turns back, you know, reverse Flash speed, and his eyes are glowing red. How do his eyes glow red again? I'm sure there's actually a reasonable explanation, but I cannot remember it. Maybe there isn't a reasonable explanation. Why are his eyes red? I don't understand. You, smarter person, tell me below, please. So we get all this stuff, but eventually, our faceless man gets a reveal, his mask is pulled off, and it's General Ivan. I've seen this show before, and I really thought he was dead. I thought Grodd killed him, but no, Grodd has taken over his mind, or at least possessed him for some period of time. As they lock him up in the particle accelerator chamber, and they're talking to him and getting, no, Grodd, that's me. Caitlin, good. For a hyper-intelligent ape, he sure is talking like he is just an ape. After the team gather this information, they head down into the sewers, and it's not just Flash on his own. Joe comes with him, and it's like, okay, I get that, but then Cisco's there as well. I'm not sure what he's supposed to bring to the table, maybe because he knew Grodd, that he can appeal to his empathy, but that never comes into play. It's just, he's there for the sake of being in danger, and well, Joe, he gets kidnapped out of all this. Later on, trying to find Eobard Thawne, and you're trying to find Grodd, they can't figure anything out. Iris and Barry have a fight. This is probably one of the best scenes when it comes to conflict and drama in the CW, or at least in this show in The Flash. It's one of the best scenes that it has. The way these guys argue about not telling each other the truth and thinking that they were best friends with one another. It's acted really well. You gotta give it to Grant Gustin and Candice Patton. It's Candice Patton. As if things weren't crushing enough with the drama and how everything's been escalating, Thorne comes up to Eddie and he's like, hey, here's the newspaper from the future, you don't even get the girl, you're not that important, mate. Which I think swings around for some really good payoff in the last episode. So Barry's there and he's thinking, how do I beat an ape? Think like an ape. That's stupid, but he does think like an ape. He's like, alright, let's just supersonic punch this guy, let's just knock him the hell out. That doesn't work. Grodd's able to catch him despite him moving at those speeds, which I'm not sure is physically possible, but it's Grodd. Grodd really does stop the pacing in the way that I was worried about other villains maybe stopping the pacing, but it is intertwined with the main plot very well, and it's like, say there's a Spider-Man show, and Green Goblin's the villain, and they keep building it up, and they stop that for Dr. Octopus. It's because it's Dr. Octopus, you kind of go, okay, it's alright. So with Grodd in this case, and being a big CG and very expensive thing to have there, I can see why it's alright. The show just covers its own ass enough to get away with it all, so I can't imagine how bad it's gonna be looking now in retrospect at the later seasons and episodes, because this is as good as it gets. So Barry's fighting Grodd, and Barry ends up getting Grodd hit with a train, which seemingly is the end of that, and since Ivan's control's kind of broken, Barry later on just lets Ivan go, and Ivan's like, I know you're the Flash, I'm not an idiot. Even though they're salty with one another, and I'm pretty sure he'll come back for season 2. If he's not killed, I remember him being killed. Before that, I've jumped ahead a little bit, Barry ends up saving Joe, of course, because he's not just gonna not do it. I tell you what, the standard for this show is, if the villain can kidnap Joe, they're a serious threat. Shit seems to go down whenever Joe is kidnapped, or flung out of a window. So we're closing this episode with Barry and Iris talking and kind of making up over everything, and that Iris is kind of admitting she does have feelings for Barry. While Barry's like, yeah, I should have told you the secret earlier. So they kind of make up, but in the distance, Grodd is climbing a tower and it's not over yet. And that's why it's a continuation. I remember that tower being the climax of the episode, but it just didn't happen. So tomorrow, Flash. So next time we're going to dive even more into Grodd, and I hope we get a little bit more backstory other than just what we've got. We'll have to wait and see, and of course, we get one more scene with Thawne. He's down in the place where Eddie is kidnapped, and then he goes to climb this ladder, and that's how he gets in and out all the time, and we're wondering where the hell is this? If Barry has searched the whole city, well, he opens the little latch to reveal that he is inside the particle accelerator itself, hiding right under their noses, which is a pretty cool twist, and Thawne is talking to Eddie about how it's time to go home, it's time to end all this, and we're getting close, guys, we're getting there. This episode's really good. I wouldn't say it's as good as the last episode. Again, despite how cool Grodd is, technically, he's kind of stalling us to the finale, but it's woven in a way that Ed Bard, and you'd have to be in on all this secret, and the gang would as well, for Thawne to even be using Grodd as a distraction. Like, it's written the way it is, and it has to be done like that. Do they do a good job with Grodd? Yeah. How does Grodd's CG hold up? Really, really well. Surprisingly well, for considering some of the stuff we've seen earlier in the season. Considering how well it looks, it could have been made a couple of years ago, and I'd still be like, yeah, I buy that. Especially for television. Anyway, guys, what did you think of the episode? Again, I gave you my thoughts. I think last week's was a little bit better, but this one's pretty damn good too. The momentum is there, and it's getting close to losing it. Let's see how it does next time. If you like seeing me and you want to see more of me and to hear me wrap up and talk about the end of The Flash, consider subscribing or dropping a like. It tells me that you want to see more episodes like these. If you've made it all the way through to the end of the video, you're a bloody legend, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.